Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Tech Tidbit. I hope that everyone has been doing well. And so today I'm happy to be here with Delegate Shelly Simonds. Thank you so much for being here on today's episode.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so first of all, as I start off all of my interviews, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Newport News, a great place to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And so today's topic that we are going to discuss is really the importance of STEM education. And so for those of you who don't know, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so, this has really taken on a really prevalent, it's really taken on a prevalent role in terms of, how it's really being relayed, especially within, public schools. And so really, before I go ahead and begin with any questions, what are your thoughts about, really how STEM has, impacted, the world and really like how you see the importance of it?
I think STEM education is really not just the way of the future, but the way of today. These aren't the jobs of tomorrow, these jobs of today. And I think all students really need to have exposure to things like coding and how to build an app and how to design a website. I mean, these are just everyday skills now in most professions. I think for me as a politician, an elected official, it's been really important to make sure we have equity of opportunity so that everybody gets a chance to learn about STEM. I remember meeting with a union group, and one of the women in the union brought her daughter who was in high school. And I spoke to the group about the importance of STEM education and computer science and coding for our students. And this teenage girl came up to me afterwards and she said, Delegate Simonds, this was my experience as well. I wanted to take the technology class in middle school, but there wasn't room for me. And I know for my own daughters, they wanted to take the technology class, but it wasn't being offered in their middle school. So that to me is unequal access. And especially for girls and people of color, I mean, this is a really important skill set that I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to learn about.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I definitely agree that, STEM education is really important. And it's unfortunate that, not every type of class within the field is really being able to be offered everywhere. Yeah, and that, different areas may have different, different availability of types of courses. And so, I know, especially right now within this, COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen, the digital world really become our today world, where almost everything is done, over some sort of virtual interface. I mean, from from schools to like events such as graduations and so on. We've had really a lot of exposure this past year of being in a digital world. And so I definitely believe that STEM education definitely is even more important, now more than ever. And I think that's something that you had just touched on a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, I mean, the pandemic really showed us how important STEM and computer science and using technology is to education. But I think it also really revealed a lot of the gaps that we have out there. Right now, only 53% of students in our most challenged school environments in Virginia actually have access to computer science classes right now in Virginia. So we need to make sure that we have access for all students. And I think the pandemic has shown how important the digital world is for learning.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, and that's really an interesting, point too. And so, even for me as a college student, I've spoken to several different people, who said that where they live, that they may not have, as much internet access as other areas. And, especially in a time where, like education is even, delivered over over mediums such as like the internet. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we're not able to have that same access, as other areas, for example.
And a lot of times you can get it at school, but you can't get it at home. So I'm really glad and I'm proud of the state of Virginia and our Governor Ralph Northam for dedicating millions of dollars in the budget to helping connect communities with broadband. And it's also really exciting that the federal government is also providing money to help with the broadband issue. It seems like people are kind of coalescing around the broadband access issue. And once again, I think the pandemic really brought out the digital divide and how important it is for everybody to have access to broadband.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that I've noticed is, with this, past few months or so, and even pre-pandemic, a lot of information and stuff on in terms of school has been now had a lot of online components to it, whether it's like an English class where you might be typing instead of traditional writing. In other ways, how do you see the classroom really changing, pre-pandemic and especially coming out of the pandemic?
Well, I think that classrooms need to be connected. I think luckily Newport News, especially Newport News Public Schools, was pretty forward thinking, and we do have some good broadband access for our schools. So I think that as people go back, they are going to have good access in their classrooms. I think that we need to get back safely to our classrooms. I think it's really important. I think that teachers are really the motivators, and they hold students accountable for their learning, and we need to make sure that students are with their teachers. It's an important relationship, and it just it makes me sad when I see the Zoom classes with everybody's camera off and the poor teachers trying to talk to a big blank black screen. And these teachers, they want to have their students back and be able to nurture them and encourage them. And and one thing I'm really concerned about right now is the drop in applications for college and the FAFSA. I believe applications are down 10%, and that's going to translate to fewer students going to university. And I think being in the school building, being with your counselors, having that extra person to hold you accountable. Did you finish your FAFSA? What forms do you need? What can I help you with? Is so important for young people right now. So I think we're going to be able to get back to normal, but I think the enduring feature of our public education system are highly qualified, amazing professional teachers that care about students, motivate students, and hold them accountable for their learning. And I'm a former teacher myself, and I think teachers are the key. And that's one of the reasons in the General Assembly I've really been fighting for teacher pay raises, which kind of gets back to what we were talking about with STEM. We can't find enough math teachers, and we certainly can't find enough computer science teachers in high school. So we've got to develop those talents among our teaching staff. You can be a science or a math teacher and learn how to teach computer science. We can retrain teachers if we need to, but just overall, we've got to make the teaching profession the best profession in Virginia, so people want to go into teaching, and that means higher pay. So I don't know, what do you think? Do your fellow students talk much about becoming teachers, or what do you see as the future of teaching from your standpoint as a student?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And yeah, I actually do have, several friends from both high school and college who'd like to, really go into the teaching profession. And so, yeah, I think it's really interesting, in how things are right now in terms of, really how the classrooms have been changing over these past few years, especially like accelerating, taking it to the next level during this, pandemic, where you definitely really need to be able to engage the students and really, try to inspire them and push them to go further. And so I think that's a really interesting challenge, but I think it's one that is really obtainable. And so yeah, I think it's really trying to help the next generation of students really be able to help them go forward in the same way that hopefully their teachers had as well.
Yeah. I serve in the House of Delegates. I've been in for 2 years, and I serve on the education committee. And we spend a lot of time talking about teachers and how to improve teaching, conditions in Virginia and make it a really great, attractive profession. I think that there are a lot of things politicians disagree on, but we all come back to education, and we all come back to the importance of teachers, and we need to put our budget and our money where our mouth is, and increase teacher pay. And I think it's a bipartisan issue that can really bring everybody together. And we're so divided in Virginia and across the nation. We need to focus on those things that we can agree on that are going to unite us and bring us together.
I think one of the things that I have noticed recently is that, while, yeah, of course, there's a lot of, pros and cons both ways in terms of, how things are, changing and are being done, especially like, in this virtual environment. I think one of the interesting things that has happened though is that, really with, this new environment, it really allows for, students to also be able to help create like their own identity in a sense that you know that we may not necessarily always be like in the school building or in the physical classroom, but we're still students. We still want to be able to learn and aspire for what we want to do. And so it might be where I at least know for me in my free time, I have really begun to try out new things and really be able to incorporate what I've learned in the classroom and really be able to apply it to my everyday life. And so really trying to make the most of this new world that we're living in. And so how do you see really things changing, like going forward a little, in terms of being able to incorporate what we've learned here within this past year or so into how education goes forward? I'm just kind of curious about that.
I mean, I think technology makes so much possible. Um, my daughter picked up ukulele during the pandemic, and is now taking an online guitar class. So, maybe your school building doesn't have a ukulele teacher, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't have, digital music labs where you can learn an unusual instrument. I think that it really opens up a lot of opportunities for your generation. I mean, there's really nothing that you can't learn. No language that's out of reach. And we have Virtual Virginia, which offers classes in Chinese and so many different languages. So it really is broadening. I guess that's the irony of the whole pandemic is, we feel so closed in, holding up in our houses, but then at the same time, we were forced to explore, so much more, the hobbies that people are coming up with, baking and, I've been cooking a lot of different things, finding recipes and watching how people cook on different websites. So it's almost like a new golden age of self-directed learning, where you can kind of figure out what it is you want to study. I just wish, I want students to always have a safe place to be. And, I wish that we could have a school day that was a little bit longer to kind of incorporate more study time at the end of the day. And maybe some students are doing athletics, but other students are doing an online guitar class or a cooking class, or, I just, I want to make sure that we've got a lot of working families, a lot of working parents, and I want to make sure that students have that that personal connection to adults, even if they are doing online learning. So I guess for me, moving forward, that's kind of what, like, I love the self-directed learning, but I really feel that the caring teacher is such a core part of all of this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And, I think even for me, like for me taking all, asynchronous um, college classes right now, it's like as much as I'm able to learn and really expand on my own, it's like I do miss the interactions with with the teachers and the, various professors and whatnot, and really being able to, have a personal connection with them, being able to interact with, other fellow students. And so, I think it's really interesting being able to see everything from, both sides of it, really. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I think definitely like over the course of the next few years, I really hope that, you know, that in terms of, public schools, I know how we were just saying that, that right now there's a lot of space for, as you said, like study time and, being able to have self-directed learning. And so I really hope that that's also something that will begin to, really incorporate itself into, traditional schooling, having those extra breaks in between, just to really be able to, give some time to really comprehend all of the information, and ask those very important questions.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I see your generation has so many opportunities in front of you, and I just want to make sure that you know everybody has access to the skill set that the critical thinking and the problem solving that you get from STEM education. I mean, we know that this is something that parents, want our students to have exposure to. 90% of parents want their kids to have some kind of computer science class. And, if we can get more of our students studying computer science, it's really going to allow them to get access to the highest paid, fastest growing job category in the country. Because if you have that background, computer science can be applied to banking and accounting and management and medicine and engineering and so many different fields if you have exposure to computational thinking. And I think it's important to push it back to middle school too, and not just high school, because if you're, especially for girls and women, if you're not exposed to STEM and computer science in middle school, you're more timid and you're not as confident in high school. So we've got to start that education pipeline really early on.
I know for me, like in terms of middle school, I think that's the time that I really began, getting a full interest in the whole STEM field. For me, I went to Crittenden Middle School, which is the STEM magnet, and so I had enjoyed every bit and moment of it, and really immersed myself, like within the whole STEM field. And so yeah, as you said, that even for STEM education, that it's not even limited to just STEM fields. And so for me, I am a media studies major, which is a concentration of communication. And so, while that's not necessarily you know, a STEM field necessarily, for what I use it for, it definitely really relates to that field as I'm able to incorporate those various aspects of it really into, my own education. And so I
I
think
bet
it,
you're good at computers and figuring out, how to prepare a video. I mean, you have real skills there, a real skill set, and I do think it's important for students to, think about employment in terms of real skills. Even in, running a campaign or having an office as a delegate. I mean, I need people who can manage spreadsheets and manage my database and make changes on my website. Like those are the real skills that I need. Now, I also need people who know how to write and who are good communicators and who are friendly on the phone. And there are many jobs where you need to be able to write grant proposals. So you need to be able to do a budget and figure out, how much money you need to do a certain project and be able to present that in a professional way. So, those are all like, you can take a grant writing class right now when you're in college if you want. And that's going to be a real skill. Video editing, that is a real skill that you're going to bring. So, sometimes we think about degrees, but I think we also still, even when you're in college, think about what it is you can do that you have done. Have you written a press release? Have you done a social media campaign? Those are super valuable things that it doesn't matter what your major is. You could be an economics major or an engineering major and still learn how to do those things.
yeah, and I think that is a really important thing to know. And overall, like it's really important to really see like the true value that STEM education brings. And as you had mentioned before, like the different mindset it really allows you to begin to develop and the critical thinking that goes along with it. I think that's really something important to I guess note about that.
Mhm. Well, I am excited about all the progress that I think we've made in the state of Virginia. There's a group called code.org, which tracks how different states are doing with computer science. And it has like 9 key policy goals. And I think Virginia's made 7 of them. And I actually had success this last year passing some legislation to create a STEM advisory board. And that's going to be a permanent part of our education system in Virginia. So I'm proud of that. And I also passed a bill to require kind of an overview evaluation of how we teach computer science across Virginia to see if there's equal access, because that is, something I'm really worried about, making sure that middle school girls and everybody, has a chance to take a STEM class or a technology class or a coding class. So I'm really excited about that. And, the more I talk to leaders around our state, I think that they recognize that these are investments that we need to make in getting students ready for the real job market of today. I think there are 40,000 unfilled computer science jobs right now in Virginia, and 400,000 across the country. And, you hear a lot about STEM jobs, but a lot of the STEM jobs are actually computer science jobs. And I remember a few years ago, I think even healthcare was one of the fastest growing STEM areas for Newport News in particular. So, studying STEM is a great way to get into some of the fastest growing job categories in our area.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting. And I think especially like for our area, for both Newport News and Hampton Roads, we have such a large STEM area, especially like with so many different organizations and government agencies here, such as, like NASA, and we have Jefferson Lab and so many other, great, amazing, organizations. And I really appreciate that, most of them also have worked with a lot of schools, especially like in Newport News, and have really, allowed for them to explore their field, explore their job, and really being able to say that this is something that you can actually do one day. It's not like like a unattainable dream job. This is something that you can really obtain and do.
Yeah, I mean, I spent some time on the board at New Horizons Regional Education Center, and they have the Career and Tech Center there. And just trying to pivot what we do toward some of these new energy economy jobs. Offshore wind development is really exciting in Hampton Roads. And, offshore wind, I mean, it's going to require welding, people who are electricians, even ship repair. We're going to have to literally build ships to go out to sea to maintain these massive windmills. So I believe at New Horizons, they just started a ship repair program. So I really do appreciate that about New Horizons, and also Newport News Public Schools. We're nimble. If there's demand in a different technology area, we're going to pivot and make sure that students have some skills to be able to work in those fields. So same with health, the Health Science Academy that we have at Warwick High School. That's a high demand job category. And so we're trying to get our students ready for that jobs in that area. And, I love the field of nursing because I feel like you can get in without a college degree and you can just keep going right on up, your fellow nurses will tell you, oh, if you get this degree, you can make twice as much money. And, people just tend to go right up. My father-in-law had one of his physicians actually started out as a nurse and went right up through the ranks. So there's a lot of opportunity when you know how to navigate the college system. And that's why I'm really encouraging and hoping our students get back into school buildings so that they can be with those counselors to get them, started on that path. It's a complicated world out there. There's so many different paths that you can take, and I definitely think students need that support for career planning and college planning.
Yeah, that is very true. And I definitely agree with that. And really, like, especially over the course of my education, really having, all of those people who have always been there and, like I said, for support or, really like helping to push us to, that next level. It's like, you're here, and how about, taking this next step? I think that is always, a very important thing to have, even when you're already self-determined to, to obtain a certain goal, really being able to have, the great support system, such as those people in the school, both teachers and support staff, just really, encouraging you to go forward, to continue to move on. And so, and I guess to slowly begin to, wrap this up, what is your hope for really, like, how education really, should go forward, or any words for, for students who may be watching this?
Well, I applaud everyone for surviving this crazy year. I mean, I never would have imagined that we would all be quarantining and social distancing, and it's been a year. But I'm proud of all the students out there for persisting and I would just say, if you're feeling, if you're feeling down, to connect with your peers, to make plans. Even if you can't do all the plans that you have, to, apply for some internships, dream big. I think that that's a really good way to kind of combat the lethargy of this pandemic, and connect with your counselors, and connect with your teachers. You're going to need recommendations. Connect with your fellow students in terms of clubs. I mean, you can still have clubs via Zoom. I was just with a Girl Scout troop having a club meeting. They were mostly 10, 11 years old, but all of those things really matter. And it's not just college applications, but it's just showing leadership. If you start a new club, even if it's online through Zoom, maybe it's to debate some issue that you find, or some research something that's interesting to you, or, just come together with some of your fellow students and start something new. Doing that can be hugely valuable when you apply for college or a job, to show you're the one who started the International Relations Club at Menchville High School, that you started a charity event to help the Red Cross or whatever it is. Come up with an idea and connect, because I know students have been out there baking bread and learning new instruments and doing awesome things on their own, but now we've got to come back together. We've got to come back together as a team, and have students working with fellow students and reconnecting with our teachers. And so that to me is our next phase. That's our task. And heck, we're humans, so it's not going to be hard for us to come back together and reconnect. But I just, I hope we can remember to be encouraging of each other and positive. And as an elected official, that's what I think is my most important role, is to have a positive vision for our students and for our school system and for our community, and what we can be, because there's plenty of negativity out there. We don't really need a whole heaping load more of negativity. We need people who are going to inspire others and be positive. So I hope that all the students out there can, join me in that, and being hopeful and creating something new.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Delegate Simonds, for joining me today. It is truly a pleasure and honor to have you here.
Oh, it has been fantastic. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been so fun. Thanks for caring about STEM education. I appreciate that too.
Absolutely. And have a great day and stay safe. And I look forward to hopefully speaking to you again soon.
Yes, that sounds great. Hopefully after next legislative session, I'll have some more updates for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone.